almost amazing most of the time. I have a 7-year-old son, almost 7-year-old son, who's hilarious and adorable and is so encouraging and my biggest fan. And recently I've started a startup, Gathrin. So, with the evolution of the sharing economy and the do-it-yourself economy, I saw a space for events and weddings in this marketplace. Just like Airbnb lets you share your spare room. Has anyone heard of Airbnb? Some people. And Uber lets you share your spare car seat. Gathrin lets you share your unique stuff for events and weddings. So Gathrin has been a dream of mine for over 3 years. There's been many obstacles and many days of doubting, but Gathrin has finally become a reality. My startup journey has only just begun, and Gathrin is still a very, very long way of becoming all that it needs to be. So how did I get here? So let's go back to my life before Gathrin. Who wants to have a guess at what I used to do for work before I started my startup? Think completely the opposite to where I am today. And he starts, what do I look like?
You look like a nurse.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's why I'm good at sales.
Yeah, so this is exactly what it was. I used to work as a nurse and a midwife.
I used to see
So-
it.
Sorry?
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Let's try to put money
Oh, okay.
I could start a new business. Thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's great. Was there any other guesses? Did anyone else?
I was going to say teacher, but
Teacher. Yeah. Well, there's students in life. Yeah, so all hours of the day and night I would be delivering babies. That was my job, shift work, so 7 till 3, 2 till 11, and the nighttime graveyard shift, so 11 till 7 in the morning, which was fantastic for children, having a child at home. It feels like another lifetime ago, and it's almost like I was another person. This is the sort of thing that I do at work on a regular basis. So it says giving birth wasn't so bad after all on the left, and that one says easy for you to say. And then the Facebook, as soon as the baby comes out, they want to post it onto Facebook. So how did I end up becoming a nurse? As a child, I never played doctors or nurses, or ever took an interest in biology. My talents and things that I love to do were anything involving creating things. So coming up with designs for Barbie doll houses, setting up tables for my sister and her boyfriends to have special dinner dates at our house, setting up shop, playing bus driver and taking tickets and money off my pretend passengers, writing songs and play piano and guitar. So how did I go from being creative to becoming a nurse? There's one point that I can clearly remember, which was writing down the preferences for university. Do you remember that in Year 12? Having to come up with what your preferences were. That was a real turning point for me. All through senior high school, I wanted to become an artist and go to art college. It was my best subject and something that I loved to do. I used to go to live art drawing classes some nights with my art teacher. I loved expressing myself through visual arts and designing in graphics. I would stay awake till hours of the night finishing my art projects or other subjects like physics and maths and soccer. Life would pass around me while I was consumed in my world of design. I went to a workshop at art college at the end of Year 12 and handed in my portfolio to see if I would get in. The teachers at the college said I would not get in. I do not know why, because I didn't ask. Maybe I just didn't fit the arty look. Maybe I look like a nurse. Maybe my work wasn't very good. But after that one rejection, I didn't put art down as any of my preferences for university. That one rejection made me give up on my dream. My mother suggested that I should consider doing nursing. She wanted to be a nurse, but she never did. So she thought, oh, I want to do it. So I thought, well, I guess I like caring for people, and nursing would be a great job to travel the world with. And I would always have consistent work, unlike being an artist. So my life as someone other than my true self began, and I learned how to be a nurse. I obviously did well, so I look like a nurse now. So for 6 years I worked in nursing. It was a pretty boring job for me, as it wasn't creative at all. After 6 years I thought maybe I could try midwifery for a change. I liked midwifery better, as I was supporting them and I loved setting up the room to make it nice and homely for them. It wasn't about the actual birthing that I enjoyed, it was creating a nice space for them. Like, that's just wrong, isn't it? I didn't care about the baby coming to the world or helping them. So for 5 years I did this, worked as a midwife. Inside though, my true self was being snuffed out, and my body would soon pay the price. I had a back injury while working, and I eventually needed surgery. After healing though, I went back to work as a midwife, as it was expected, but it ignited the feeling of maybe midwifery isn't right for me. In 2008, I had a gorgeous son and began the journey of becoming a mother. This stirred up a lot of feelings about my own childhood. Did people experience that? A lot of you experience that, having children. It brings back lots of memory of your own childhood. Yeah. Yeah. So as a child, I was never encouraged to follow my dreams or to achieve greatness as a child. But I so desperately wanted this for my own son. I wanted to encourage him to be all that he can be and to follow his passions and dreams. But I wasn't following my true passions and dreams. And so this made me realise more and more that I needed to get back on the right path for me and to stop living the life that other people thought would be good for me. I wanted my son to see me living my dreams and to know that all things are possible with belief and hard work. So while my son was young, I only worked 2 days a week as a midwife, so money was a little bit tight, but I had time to create again. I taught myself new skills like sewing, using resin, and slowly my first hobby business started. People started asking me to make things for their homes. During this time, I had another back injury at work, and this was a real turning point. I started to think, is my work as a midwife really worth the physical strain to my body? Anyone who has dealt with chronic back pain would know the emotional toll it takes on you. I eventually made the difficult decision to quit my job as a midwife, as not only had my back had enough, but my mind was beginning to really suffer, going through major depression and anxiety. This was the most difficult decision, giving up a well-paid career that I'd given 12 years to. How would we manage financially? My husband was working as a chef, and there was no way we could afford to pay the mortgage on just his wage. Trusting that this was definitely the right decision for my body and mind, I took the leap of faith and quit my job. The very next week, my husband got an amazing job with better pay, and so I started on the journey of discovering what I really wanted to do with my life. I started focusing more on my hobby business, Quirky Comforts. Quirky Comforts really was a gift from God. Working on my projects was a time of healing for me, physically with my back, but more importantly, mentally. I continued to struggle with the decision I made to leave midwifery. Was I just weak and avoiding pain? What do others think of this decision? People really thought I was crazy giving up my career. But Quirky Comforts brought me much needed outlet to express my creativity. Looking back, I can see it was more of a healing path to restoring my true self than a successful money-making business. I moved into a new gear and started doing markets and selling items to boutique stores around Brisbane. started teaching lampshade making classes at Side Street Vintage, which is a craft and workshop space in Brisbane. I designed a DIY lampshade making kit and started supplying that to boutique fabric shops. I learned to upcycle furniture and unique items. This is a dairy milk strainer from an old dairy that I converted into lights. And this is an old gramophone horn that I converted into a light. I eventually decided I could hire out some of these items for events and weddings. I started to connect with other event businesses and realised just how many startup event businesses there were who were doing similar things to me. At this time, I was using Etsy and eBay to list my items for customers to see, but neither of these sites were specifically set up for events or for rentals. So a little idea started to sneak into my head. Why don't you start a community and marketplace for event businesses? This is when the idea of Gathrin started to take over my life. Once this idea was set in my mind, I never thought of anything else. How do I begin? Who is my target customer? Would it just be vintage and handmade items allowed on the site? Would you be able to rent, or could you sell items? Would it be targeted at big event companies that have already heaps of items for hire, or just startups who only have a few items? Would it be just for items, or would it include services such as photography or venues for hire? How would I make money? How am I going to get the site built, considering I have no website building experience or money? What is it going to be called? Is it actually really something that I can do? Gathrin was invading my mind, and the burning inside my gut was so intense, and still is, for this idea. It became a driving force I needed to make happen. Collaborating with event businesses on photo shoots gave me the opportunity to talk about the concept of Gathrin. Everyone who was starting out loved the concept, so I used these photo shoot collaborations as a way to gauge if Gathrin is really something that people would get on board with and use. I also asked event managers and event stylists if they could see the potential in a site like this, and they all responded very positively. Now to the challenge of how to build a site. Since I didn't have any money or have website building skills, I thought the best way to get the site built would be to partner with a web developer. I had a friend of a friend who was, according to my friend, a web developer, and he was very keen to get involved. We met a few times to go over the concept. However, I soon found out he was not really a web developer, but more of a project manager who could organise getting the site built. But I would still have to pay web developers to build it. He also was going through major life stresses, so after 6 months of trying with him, it fell through. Fail 1. Next, I tried with local web development companies to see if they would be willing to partner with me, or to see how much it would actually cost to get the site built. I got quotes from $20,000 to $120,000, but no partnerships. Fail 2, 3, 4. I found another web developer through a friend of a friend, and we played around with setting up the site for about 4 months. But she could never quite make it work, and she was studying full time. So it became too much for her. Fail 5. Each time I would come away no further advanced, I would go into a day of deep, dark depression and would be so frustrated. Why is it not happening? Why can't people see my vision? Maybe I am just dreaming. When the new day came around, I would get up and start the process all over again. What can I do now to get it closer to being built? Over and over this would happen. I learned how to breathe deeply very well through this period. I applied for funding through tech startup incubators and government incentives, but to no avail. Fail 6, 7, 8. I even looked into crowdfunding through Kickstarter if possible, but with no site to show, it was too hard to communicate the vision. After 2 years of this, I really felt like maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Was I just dreaming? As others said, it was just a pipe dream, Lise. After living a life with no passion or drive as a nurse, the dream of creating Gathrin became such a driving force. It would be of my making, with my stamp all over it, and there was nothing and nobody that could stop me from getting there. So my next genius plan was, why not build the site myself? I decided, I've done a bachelor's degree in nursing and a master's degree in midwifery. Surely I'm smart enough to learn how to code. How hard could it possibly be? During these times of failing, to get the site built, I used this time to learn as much as I could about business. I met with business mentors through government incentives, went to business groups and seminars, read a ton of business accounting, online, business entrepreneur marketing books. I did up a business plan and business models which kept changing constantly. I watched about 1 million YouTube videos about startups. I read every successful entrepreneur's biography and asked anyone I knew who had any sort of business about everything they had learned. I just became a sponge trying to absorb as much as I possibly could about business. I also built a blog for Gathrin purely for marketing purposes to get a good ranking on Google. I used this community to validate my idea and to get suggestions. I also used this time to decide on a name, and my first logo was created. So back to learning code. I found a company in California that taught coding online for a fee I could afford, and I started to learn the wonderful world of coding. I had to start from the beginning, so HTML and CSS and JavaScript, then got onto the hard back-end world of Ruby on Rails. Sites like Twitter and Airbnb are built on Ruby on Rails, so this is why I chose to learn this language. It became very, very hard, and I started to realize why nerds, really, really smart people, do the back-end coding. About 6 months into learning, I realized it would take me 10 years to fully understand coding and build my site. That night, I felt like my 2 years of trying to get Gathrin up and running was about to slip through my fingers. I prayed and told God if it was what I was supposed to do, then He needed to make it happen. I handed it over to God for Him to deal with, because I really was coming to the end of my options, unless I miraculously $1 million overnight. The next day I got up and back onto the computer to continue learning code, and through an open source site called GitHub, I came across a team of coders from Europe who were building exactly what I needed. They would look after all the back-end jargon and updating for a very minimal cost. I could not believe it. Was my site really going to become a reality after such a long and frustrating journey? I guess my prayers were answered. After almost 3 years of dreaming about Gathrin, it finally became a reality. Gathrin launched in June this year, and it is so fantastic to see startup event businesses getting on board and sharing their unique stuff. What a journey and challenge just to get started. But I am thankful for all the failures and rejections, as they have made me stronger and more resilient. For me, Gathrin is not about making lots of money, although this would be nice. It really has been about creating something myself, almost proving to myself that I can. I'm now living my own truth, not someone else's. So things that I've learned and some advice about starting up a startup would be to create a business or product that solves a problem, or that solves a problem for yourself or for others. Make sure you are constantly reading and learning about business. Don't go into major debt to get your startup off the ground. Be wise about where you spend your money. Do you really need an office space? Or can you work from home for the first 5 years? Or maybe you could join a startup cohort like Canva's co-working space. Do you really need the new fancy laptop, or is your current one working fine? Find alternate ways through trading services with others, partnering with someone who has complementary skills, and asking for help. There is never any harm in asking. If you get offered money for equity in your business, you don't have to take it. It may be the wrong time or the wrong person. So make sure you think long and hard before you take on an investor. Listen to what those in the know say, but only apply those things that relate to you in your business. If it doesn't, don't be afraid to say no. After all, it is your business and you're the one doing all the hard work, day in, day night. Make sure you always stay true to what you want your business to be. People will constantly tell you what they think you should be doing, or this and that would work better. But ultimately, you're the one that has to do it all, and you know more about your business vision and idea than anyone else. So persevere and stay strong, no matter how many knockbacks you encounter. Always stay true to yourself and what you value in life. Never compromise yourself just to make a few extra bob. Remain humble, grateful, and most importantly, have fun with the process and don't take things too seriously. Is there any questions?